Reminded that you should try a Toastmasters or a Dale Carnegie or there's things out there beyond the university that they could.
I remind them just to ask questions in class and not be afraid to ask questions in class.
Well, that's not a burden that should come onto the civil engineering college. It should be something that the university at a freshman level should be communicating.
I don't know. It's
their grade 25% is class participation.
Well, yeah.
The difference between an A and a C.
Yeah,
but I think they're getting into psychology.
Yeah.
But we do have in our ABET criteria. One of our outcomes is leadership or these interpersonal type skills. It's supposed to be in that what we need to be getting across to students. And in the past, I would say, well, we don't need to do stuff like this. But I sorry to say, you could cover your ears, or you could tell everybody, and you could. It's really true that the students are not as participatory as they used to be, and I don't think they have the same skills as. If I went around, I could pick out 10 students when I went to AIC, and I'd say these guys are going to be something because they have great skills like that. And I don't think I could find 10 students like that.
Why are people not speaking? He's a contemporaneous student.
Well, to be honest, I didn't say much when I was in class.
Yeah, well,
I was pretty quiet.
Yeah. But there's probably 8 or 10 guys who did, or people, not guys, maybe guys. But there's a group that come out and emerged like that, and now it's none. It's one. Yeah. It's like a freshman class. Freshman classes are particularly difficult like that as well. Even because those guys are worried about what their neighbor's thinking more than anything else. And so, in that class, you wait 30 seconds and you just leave it silence, and then someone feels really, really worried and nervous, and then they finally answer. It would be the same way in the junior class.
Do you think there's a correlation between the SAT scores doing that? Personal skills, you could argue that.
Versus social people.
It might be more on track. There might be a correlation with texting.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's something I think we need to think about, and I'd like to learn more some folks. Okay, and these I can go through relatively quickly, and I have the slides that Lisa Rolney, the assistant dean for finance in the college, and that's in your packet as well. But it essentially it shows how the college is moving from individual PI projects to multiple PI and trying to get big ideas and larger scale projects. And well, because we're civil engineers who can communicate and have big problems, we're really at the core of defining those type of problems. And water energy, certainly that's a big one. We had a NSF project out for $5 million. We made highly recommended, which means we're a top 4 or 5, and they selected 3. So we just missed out that. We had a whole cross section of people involved. Sustainable infrastructures, we're trying to look at NSF and DHS. Urban planning, these things called sustainable research networks. Transportation, water, energy. We had Pima County involved. We had Tucson Water involved. We had a proposal out in those guys about a year ago. So these are things that have gone out. I think they're going to be potential, and we'll continue following up. The other 2 are the NEAS and the high-speed bus, which I could spend a minute on. And if I escape there, just to show you, just to give you a little more detail on those. Fleischman, here we go. Roberts first. NEAS is the next page. Network for Earthquake Engineering Simulation. They currently, in 2007, they funded 16 sites across the U.S. for field studies and shake tables and things for earthquake analysis. That's ending around now, or maybe it was 2008 they started it. And what happened was they said NSF is not going to fund 16 groups anymore. They're going to fund 6 or 4 to 6, essentially cut the funding in half or so. Purdue is heading this up right now, and Purdue quietly got together some of the Midwest schools, like Purdue, Illinois, and a couple others in the Midwest, and left out the California schools. And the California schools realized this about 3 weeks before the letter of intent was due for the NSF project. And they're saying, oh yeah, they're going to get back to us, and they didn't get back to them. So now you had the California schools and a couple other ones sort of sitting out there, all with reasonably large egos. saying, well, who's going to take the lead on this? And they couldn't come to an agreement of who they'd get for the lead. They called Robert 2 weeks before and said, you're the guy we'd like to lead this up. So they recruited him to lead up all the California schools and a couple others, and I have the list on the next page. Or 2 pages down. That's the group: Oregon, Lehigh, a couple of the California schools. And these are the really big ones that are out there. So they called him up and said, you want to take the lead on this? And he agreed, and he submitted a letter of intent about a week and a half later, after 16 iterations, I think, is what I've heard. Unfortunately, Robert's a real perfectionist, which is not something you can be when you're dealing with $60 million and about 80 people. So he's putting together a 90-page proposal to get this group together. It's $62 million. They're going to do equipment sites to get about $1 million a year to operate. About $12 to $15 million comes to the main center that's distributed in a couple different ways, for education, for cyber and repository, and then rapid response. So he's barely sleeping, trying to get this proposal together. And he has about a month and a half to go now, a little less than a month and a half.
Due May 21st.
May 21st, yeah. So the COPIs, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, so some big players. And this couldn't be a bigger coup. Just getting seeing Roberts at this level is phenomenal. If he gets this stature for us as a unit, well, I think we'd go up from 42. I think if we got this, let's put it that way. So we'd be thrilled if he gets it. We're trying to help him as much as we can, and we'll see where we go. We'll find. He expects by the next time we're back together, there's only 2 proposals, apparently. One from Purdue and one led by Arizona. Wow. So. Well, I don't know if it's a 50-50 chance, but it's something like that. So that's a big project that we're trying to get. So the other one is that those of you who attended Roads and Streets saw, this is pulling out of Yi Chang Chu's presentation. Yi Chang is a faculty member here, transportation guy. I love this. I looked at this like, wow, this is great. This is Casa Grande, right? And there it is in the middle, high-speed bus. Separate lanes, and going back and forth between Tucson and Phoenix. They're looking at livable city type stuff, but this is a major center of it is the high-speed bus, and you don't need that type of stuff. What he's thinking is where we could fit in to another mode of transportation that's sort of in between high-speed rail, maybe even intercity rail, but actually, yeah, he's talking 155 miles an hour between sites.
And by the way, at the conference, I don't know if anybody was at this particular session, it drew a lot of comments and discussion at the question and answer period at the end, and people were talking afterwards, so it really prompted a lot of thought of people who went to the session.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's a novel idea, and so this is at the core of that University Transportation Center, the small one that he put together as a lead. And the nice thing is, they're high speed, but they can also be used on local streets, so you don't have to just use them as a high speed bus, but you can also use them for local transportation. This is one that's built, Lamborghini, with TU Delft, put this together and actually built. So this is actually built. This is not, and the doors actually lift up, just like the Lamborghini. So it's kind of a cool thing. You could look online, look up Superbus. That's online. You can see what it looks like. But 20 some odd people, dedicated lane, and autonomous. There's another picture. That looks so real to me. Yeah. So semi-autonomous for the driver and just getting back and forth. And he has some stops laid out. So he did some preliminary analysis on this and trying to get some additional funding for it to move it along. Okay. Should I mention the other part of that, Tom, or no? Okay. Yeah, he's not here, so well, either way. UTCs are require matching funds to in addition to, if you're going to get funds from Federal Highway Authority, you get matching funds in some form, typically from your Department of Transportations. So I think I listed the schools here. Oh, there they are. Yep. So Las Vegas, Texas Tech, Louisiana, and chip in some money from their state DOTs into matching funds for this. Yi Chang went to ADOT and had a great meeting with them, telling them about the project, and they were very motivated for it. About 3 weeks later, they got a letter saying we're pulling out all our matching funds. They did not want to be involved anymore, saying that the university wasn't doing what they needed as far as research. And the ADOT wants essentially financing of how they're going to finance projects, not how they can do a better job building stuff. And so a pretty tenuous relationship that we already had with ADOT was really, really strained. So all the matching funds in Arizona are coming from matching funds from the university to keep this going. But to be perfectly blunt, even E. Chang was on sabbatical and at the time of this, so we brought him back, paid him extra money to get this going, but our perception of the probability without ADOT funding to get this is about 0. Because if you don't have the local funding, you're not going to be able to get it supported. And then, the Nevada delegation is actually pushing for this in Congress and trying to get it supported. So they're pushing for our project, which is nice. Of course, we don't get McCain and folks to push for a project either, which is another. They don't push for any earmarks at all. So we're double whammied now. No legislative push and no ADOT push. So certainly if there are suggestions of how we could work better and how we could get ADOT to understand that research is important to them and can improve their what they do besides pavement, besides financing, would be really helpful. And we could talk offline if you like about that at some point.
Well, ADOT's spending $100,000 on a research project, how to warn us more about dust storms.
It moves.
Phoenix.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, it's dust coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has there been any thought about getting contractors to fund it?
Fund this project?
Yeah.
No, we haven't thought out the box like that at all. That would be, yeah.
Kevin, was there any discussion about doing something similar to what, a toll road, but not that it would be a toll road, but, that private enterprise would take on the project and then they would have...
Oh, PPP type?
Yeah.
We haven't looked in that direction. That's a reasonable, yeah.
I think, ADOT's got the money on their research. They get $1 million a year from...
And now they're keeping it all to
They're
themselves.
keeping it all to themselves. They're setting all the priorities.
For in-house
Right.
staff, for research.
Yeah, for in-house stuff that doesn't,
Right.
benefit anybody but them.
But then it keeps them employed.
Yeah.
Right. And there is questions about the,
So, no, Kevin, I'll volunteer to help you with that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I would just mention that there is a thing going on buses.
Oh.
So, if you can
Yeah,
get rid of
but this bus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't.
Call it
From all the surveys they've taken, people.
touring
like
car
the bus.
rides.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you can change the name slightly.
Yeah, call it into a vehicle pipe.
You know.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
High-speed vehicle.
High speed. Yeah. Actually, they've done some preliminary studies on, but they had a very limited pool of who they were talking to. So E. Chang had the student whose name was on here, Andeshe. They were doing some work about who would take it and what the likelihood of people taking it. And they had good response, but it was a limited pool. It was more university and university area, which may be a different demographic than the general population.
Different than the Sun corridor.
Yeah.
It's as you say, and there were some comments in the session at the end, there's a perception issue from the public about what buses are.
Yeah, that's true.
And you
Yeah.
have to overcome that by outreach.
Yeah. 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 Well, 155.
Nothing like a bus.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Ferrari.
Stretch Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but the whole way the funding structure is, the ADOT has a stewardship agreement with the Federal Highway Administration. And the stewardship agreement, I think, is in the key for the U of A and also in terms of directing this research, because just because ADOT wants to direct the money one way doesn't mean that they're totally following their stewardship agreement, because they also have to have the same goals that FHWA has. It's not just their goals.
Yeah.
So I think the key is for the U of A and your partners to learn, or at least the Arizona partners, to get more in tune with what's in that stewardship agreement, and then hold ADOT's feet to the fire on that stewardship agreement. And if they don't, then we go to FHWA and say, hey, wait a minute, this is something that has a lot of potential for the region and also the state in terms of improving connectivity between Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah. Yeah.
At a very low cost compared to high-speed rail and all these other alternatives. They're talking about a parallel route to I-10. That's huge.
It's within the existing right-of-way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that I think I can help
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of things that we have to worry about with those guys. It's yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off again, but
Yep.